Yeah, so we're live. I think Nathan is there. Yeah, we're live. So this is the online pitch session of SSG Group. Thank everyone for being here. We are going to start with Mike, so just take it from here. Please, everyone else, silence their microphones while Mike's doing the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm Mike Seidel with Work Here, and give me just 1 second here, and I'll fire up a screen share, and we can get rolling here. So everybody see big W on their screen? All right. So my co-founder in Work Here is a guy named Rick Worley, and Rick actually is the guy that wrote the first internet job board. He wrote the software that grew up in what you know to be Monster.com back in the 90s. He spent about 20 years in the HR tech space with Monster.com and a not-for-profit called Direct Employers. Direct Employers is interesting because Direct Employers actually runs the job exchange that all of the U.S. state workforce agencies use to move jobs, and also all the private sector job boards use jobs to move into the state agencies. So Rick's been sitting in the middle of the job advertisement universe for very close to 20 years. I met Rick at Direct Employers, and I got pretty heavily involved when I joined Direct Employers as a software developer in the standards making process. So I helped build some of the standards that different companies use and government uses to exchange HR data in JSON and XML formats and that sort of thing. Not real exciting, but you get a lot of relationships with a lot of the right people that way. I've got a chat note here that says not seeing presentations. Everybody able to see my presentation?
No, I can't see it.
No, I just see you.
Let me try to fix that.
Is there a share screen option at the top for you, Mike?
Yeah, it said it was sharing, but it wasn't. It wasn't going up. Okay, everybody see it now?
Yeah.
All right. Let's try not to. There we go. So anyhow, there's Rick and myself, but so hiring is hard. One of the stories we got that kind of prompted us to really build Work Here was that a lot of retailers and restaurants are having trouble hiring people. They'll have 200 or 300 people that want to work at a certain location. Maybe 30 of those people will walk in looking for a job. And then after they're asked to go to the applicant tracking system or the online system for applying for a job, only 2 or 3 people will apply. The hiring process is broken for a couple reasons. There's physical disconnect. We teach people in school, and we teach people in kind of career education that state governments put on for people that are between work and that sort of thing. We teach people to walk in, and employers want everybody to go apply online. So we have the situation where people will walk into a restaurant and say, hey, I'm looking for work, and they'll be told you need to apply online, and that person looking for work just goes on to the next employer and finds a job somewhere else. They don't ever go back and apply online. There's a huge organizational disconnect. Remote HR kind of is at loggerheads with local management a lot of times. Local management needs to fill shifts today. Remote HR wants to protect the company from risk. We see friction between franchisors and franchisees. We have a huge temporal disconnect between employers and job seekers. People want to go to work right now, and most employers aren't very organized, so we see a situation where they collect applications a lot of times, and when you don't have a process, you end up using recency as the strongest signal, so you end up hiring the last person that walked in and asked for an application. There's a huge communication gap between employers and job seekers. Job seekers want to know when a job's actually open. They don't want to waste their time applying for a job that they can never ever get because there isn't one. Which leads to Work Here really is designed to bridge the gap between how people hunt for jobs and how modern employers are hiring. The whole idea here is in-person to online. Work Here uses locations to capture candidates and connect them to your hiring process. In HR speak, we build hyperlocal talent communities that you can use to curate talent and then invite them in to be hired when you have openings. So the market that we're in, actually the first market we've targeted is retail and restaurant. The reason we picked it is high traffic. It gives us a really good opportunity to use employers' locations to actually convert walk-in job seekers into users of our app. Our first target market, there's over 3 million locations. There's over 28 million employees. It's a steady state market, so there's not a lot of growth there. But the big thing is it has high turnover, and it has the most and best locations. We looked at a lot of other markets to go after, and what we figured out pretty quickly is that high turnover is a good thing if you're selling a career marketing product. Most other industries aren't nearly as location-centric as retail and restaurant are, and they have a lot fewer locations. So for a product that we think we're going to sell on a per location basis, having lots of locations to sell to is kind of a good thing. So our application, actually I can show it to you here today. We've got the job seeker experience completed. We have our social features completed. We're working on the employer onboarding process. And our application's already good enough that we can show jobs all over the United States, get paid when people click on them, and we could actually launch a consumer product within a week to the app stores. So we're pretty far along, and we're kind of right at the point before we decide, how we launch and where we launch.
Mike,
so, yeah.
Just 1 second. The next slide is not showing, so just see if you can launch it again. If not, you just keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the point of demoing, so we'll be okay.
Yeah. You have a couple of more minutes, and then we need to turn to the next one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So, well, rather than waste a lot of time on that, let me just jump into the demo real quick, if I can. So we should see work here the application showing up on your screen right now, and
yep.
Now I can drive. What you're looking at is a map that actually shows jobs that are at an intersection that's maybe about a quarter of a mile from my house. This is real typical for suburban America right here. The green dots are companies that have jobs listed on the internet, and the orange locations are companies that don't have jobs listed on the internet. There's a Marathon station, there's a Speedway gas station there, there's a Dollar General and a CVS, I think, that have jobs. But there's a lot of other businesses that are located there that potentially could use our system for hiring. So it's a kind of interesting situation. So if I want to work at one of these locations, like I want to go to work at this dentist office, I can just real simply follow that dentist location, and the employer knows who I am now. They're able to get a hold of me, and I'm in their talent community. It's that the orange locations are companies that don't have jobs listed on the internet. There's a Marathon station, there's a Speedway gas station there, there's a Dollar General and a CVS, I think, that have jobs. But there's a lot of other businesses that are located there that potentially could use our system for hiring. So it's a kind of interesting situation. So if I want to work at one of these locations, like okay, so at that I had to mute Terrence because we were getting a delay of a few minutes. What I said a few minutes ago is coming through on my screen. So, so once you get in and you're following a location, you're in their talent community. We've actually got a map view. Can also give you just a listing of what's near you. And if I'm interested in learning more about Dollar General, I can even go in and look at what positions they have open. And if I want to apply online, on these jobs, we're already set up so if I click, I end up going to Indeed.com. We get paid on the click. So that's already ready to make some money for us. So that's the
amount of locations you have and the money that you have seen coming in.
Right now, we haven't launched our app, so we don't have any revenue coming in yet. We're literally like 1 week before we launch, so we're right at the point where we'll find all those things out pretty quickly. We're really working right now on getting a lot of kind of partnerships in place and working on getting our marketing in place to pick up job seekers. We just had a really good call this morning where we're actually going to be partnering with the people that own the .jobs domain and own the .jobs network of job boards, where they're going to potentially be distributing our app through their system, which gives us access to a couple million job seekers right out of the gate. So we've got a few good things going in that respect. Let me kind of switch back, show you what the business model looks like.
Yeah, you just like have one more minute so we can move into the RSP pitch. Sorry, Mike.
Okay. Well, if we just want to kind of move quickly.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what we're looking for is actually a little bit of investment. We're trying to raise right around $600,000 for sales marketing, and we want to get one developer in. We're looking for partners to help us distribute our mobile app. We're looking for agencies that are doing career marketing that could potentially sell our app, and then we're looking for help getting the word out. So that's where we're at. So any questions?
Is the linking, the Indeed click through, the only monetization, or are there other opportunities for you?
Not at all. Actually, let me go back here. Our business model actually is to sell work here as a solution to employers and charge on a per location basis. So initially we're going to go $30 per location. We've already worked with some employers like Hilton and Popeye's Chicken and REI, and got a few that are wanting to pilot this, but the price is set, so it's about the same price to have one location have work here as it is to buy one job ad.
So that's my question. This is Shane Johnson. I think first $40 a location scares me. It seems too low, but I also think what your argument is really you're trying to lower the cost of acquisition of employees. Does that sound right? Because
actually, for retailers, it's more of a case we're trying to expand the talent pool for them. Sure, we can lower the cost there, but the whole $30 price point, $30 monthly price point is just if you're buying 18,000 locations, it's going to be hard to go higher than that because of the price of other career marketing vehicles. That's what we found, in the last few years working with 700 of the Fortune 1000 and with direct employers. We found that usually companies are okay with spending 125 to 200,000 on a career marketing platform, and if we jack our price up, that creates a problem with the bigger employers.
Sure.
I'm sure we could get more money if we wanted to squeeze harder, and I'm not sure. We're really going to take an enterprise first kind of approach to how we sell this. Just because it's a lot easier to boil the ocean that way.
Okay, and you know this space a lot better than I do, so forgive this is an ignorant question. But so, is it really a problem to just selecting on the most recent guy through the door?
That's a big problem. It creates a lot of issues for employers from a regulatory and equal opportunity standpoint. It's a nightmare. You end up with somebody who is being paid potentially minimum wage, handling all the applications. So you have the problem of people coming in and saying, "Hey, can I apply?" They get the application, fill it out, hand it in, and then the kid at the counter throws it away so their friend gets the job. So there's a lot of really unique problems to retail, but just a lot of it is really just a disconnect between how the real life works versus how people in the HR world think it works, and end up creating systems that just can never work because they're not catching the traffic that's walking in the door to get hired. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Mike, one question: Why is it that still, like, Fields has just opened here in Redwood City and still put a sign on the door, "We're hiring," and it's still the most effective thing to hire? Have you asked retail stores, like, why do you still put the sign, and why is still the most effective thing?
Well, that's a really, really good question. The reason people put a sign on the door, or they go out and change the sign out in the front parking lot to say "now hiring," is because that's the best marketing asset a lot of retailers have. Their locations are chosen for high traffic, and so it's kind of natural that they would use that to advertise. What we want to do is replace the "now hiring" sign with a "work here" sticker, so that people can be routed into work here and sign up to be notified when a job opens. So it's not this kind of crazy process where I need to fill a shift at 3 o'clock. So let's go take down the $2.99 Baconator special sign that's out front, change it to now hiring. So we get our employee hired, and then when my regional manager comes in to review and wonders why our sales were down on the promotion for the Baconator, I have to tell them that I changed it to the now hiring sign. A lot of these things you see are actually not good. They're actually symptoms that the employers aren't doing a good job of maintaining a talent pipeline, and it's actually going to create problems in their business. That signage on the door is wasted if it's being used on, even if it's a handmade sign that says now hiring. Those companies invest millions of dollars on making that entrance look like it looks, and when somebody puts a hand-printed now hiring sign on there, it's a branding problem. So there's a lot of things that are just not right in that retail space at this point. To answer your question?
Yeah, like we take it offline, but I want to go. I think you should go way deeper on the reasons why it's so effective. And someone like Fields, has raised money, has 15 locations, is very well known in the Bay Area, still put a sign. And I have talked to the managers of the new location. It's still the most effective way. So maybe you have gone deeper, but you don't have enough time. Maybe just one more question. I don't know if Rob wants to jump in.
Sure. I mean, I was a little late. Thank you, Windows, for your expert handling of my audio devices. So I might have missed it, and if I have, just ignore me. But it's very clear to me that you understand the problem and the problem space very well. But I didn't get how you were going to go to market and how much it was going to cost you to acquire customers. So, is the $600,000 that you're asking for going to be hiring a sales force? Is it going to be, what is it going to be? So you have to give me a little bit more of an idea of that. I'm not asking for answers. I'm just saying as pitch,
Okay.
right? And I don't fully understand your monetization strategy. I mean, you have clicks, but you're going to pay. You're going to have locations pay. You can't charge too much because there might be too many locations. Maybe you need a scaled set of SKUs for different size organizations or number of hires or something like that. So your business model was a little unclear to me as well. So it seems like you've got an application that's very useful that can help in many ways, but the money flow through the business, how you're going to gather customers and get them to pay for the service, it was kind of unclear to me, right? So again, I may have missed it at the beginning. It's fine, but anyway, that's the only comments that I have.
Let's take it to Slack or offline to later questions. I think Terrence has one more question, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, how do you know that employers feel like their space is being wasted when they put up the for hire sign? Have you talked to actual employers at these stores where they put out a for hire sign and you're like, oh no, we're going to replace your sign with, your company, go here online to find jobs? That seems like a lot more friction to me.
Well, the issue that we've got is that the now hiring sign that's out front leads to a disconnect. So somebody walks in, and some places will hand somebody a paper application. That works out fine. Other places will say, go to our applicant tracking system and apply online.
What companies are doing that right now, for example?
Which process are you asking?
The second one. What stores are saying, put up a for hire sign, and then someone walks in and says, hey, I want a job, I want to apply, and they say, go to our applicant tracking system. Who's doing that right now? Who have you talked to?
Just down the street, CVS, is a good example of that. Okay. One of the largest pharmacy chains in the world does that. There's a myriad of fast food chains that will do that. So
got it. Is your point that it's a waste of their time it's a waste of the workers' time and other customers who are trying to get their food? Like if CVS wants to direct someone to a site, they should just say, we're hiring, go here on the sign?
Some do, but that doesn't stop people from walking in and asking anyway and interrupting anyway. But the online application
Sorry, what would stop them from going in and doing the exact same behavior with your approach? I don't get what's different. Sorry.
Well, the biggest difference is that what we don't do is put a huge barrier to big barrier to getting into the talent community like an applicant tracking system does. When somebody goes to apply online, they get 28 questions, and
Got it.
very
Okay.
few people finish that process. We try to get it narrowed down to where basically you hit our app either via your web browser or put the app on your phone. Either way you go, you end up basically able to register for the talent community with just an email and a name and indicating that you're interested in working here. The employer can come back and engage with you however they want to. So if they want to send you to their applicant tracking system, they can. Smarter employers will have hiring events where they bring 15, 20, 30 people in at a time to interview. But the idea is,
how is this not easy to copy? Because it sounds like you're simplifying the applicant tracking system and job application system, which is great, but can't someone just copy what you're doing if it's so simple?
I guess the answer to that is, with enough time and money, anybody can figure anything out and copy anything.
Okay.
So that's really the truth. I mean,
there is a distribution. Yeah, you need to get that partnerships. That's for sure. Yeah, you need to be the standard. To be
Well, just as a pitch point, when somebody asks you that question, that's the wrong answer is anybody can copy anything. The right answer is what's my competitive advantage, right? So you got to make sure that you have a good story of what your intellectual property, patent portfolio, unique relationships, unique technology, something is, so that when you answer that question, it's clear that people may try and copy you, but they have a long way to go and a lot of work to do to catch up.
Like
right.
I have a network effect, or I have some kind of defense. Yeah.
Or you have some unique insight that's super not obvious, or yeah.
Hey, Mike, thank you. Let's take it offline. Let's go with Jenny. Are you there?
I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's go for it.
I'm going to initiate my screen share. Can everybody who's not presenting go on mute? I am going to keep an eye on the Google Hangout chat window, so if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me in the Google chat window. And can everybody, if you cannot see my slide, my starting slide, go ahead and put something in the chat window right now, like, can't see it.
We can see it.
Great. Okay. Oh, Shane and Rob say can't see it. Okay. See, but we know some people can.
It says Winner Digital LA Startup Showcase.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting a couple of try shrinking your screen, because Rob and Shane are saying they can't see it. Is that any better? I just did some sizing. Okay, I'm going to just
There you go. There you go. Yeah, now I see your video, Shannon. Just try to. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and I'm also happy to send out the deck afterwards.
Great.
Okay, so I'm Jenny Wong, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of ShoppingQuizzes.com. I'll start off by telling you a little bit about myself and my co-founder, which I think helps to make our startup make sense. I'm a Los Angeles girl pretty much my whole life. I graduated from the early entrance program at Cal State LA when I was 16 and went on to get my PhD from USC's Annenberg School, where I got my doctorate in communication at the age of 22. So I have been a social scientist literally my entire adult life. I then went on to consult on cognition and human behavior change in the Fortune 500, including a stint at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is how I met Steve. So Steve Krause is my co-founder and my husband. He is a full-stack e-commerce engineer for 20 years, and he's also a 3-time CTO where one of his previous startups, Team Talk, was eventually acquired by ESPN. Together, we are the owners of Limelight Web Development, our service business, and we've worked together full-time since 2007, and Shopping Quizzes is the second company that we built together. So Shopping Quizzes solves two problems, one for the consumer and one for the online retailer. And so we're going to start first by talking about the consumer problem. So once upon a time, your choices for bread were basically binary. You could have white or wheat. And then there was this kind of Cambrian explosion where all of our supermarket choices went up fivefold. And now our choices look like this. So, you know, just looking at this kind of gives me a headache, and my personal nemesis happens to be the salad dressing aisle. And this is what the problem looks like online. So if you go on Amazon and you search for a baby bib, you search for the word bib, you're going to get 170,000 results. And this is a problem that's accelerating. It's getting worse as we speak, because just 2 years ago, this search yielded 36,000 results. So that's 5 times worse in the blink of an eye. And this is a pain point because for the consumer, it's exhausting and we feel paralyzed and we say to ourselves, you know, I'll figure this out later. And in case you were wondering, let me assure you that none of these left side filters are helpful. So this is actually the true story of how Steve and I started working on this problem, because a couple of years ago, I needed to buy a bib for our son. And I went online and I got 36,000 choices. So I started clicking and reading, and even just for the bibs on the first page of Amazon results, it took forever. And if my kid wasn't drooling like a faucet, I probably would have just bailed on the entire purchase. But finally, after going through all of these product descriptions, I figured out I could sort these bibs by a 2x2 matrix. Because as a consultant, there's one thing you know how to do, it's make a 2x2 matrix. So here's the 2x2 matrix for bibs, right? Some are absorbent, some are waterproof, some are snap close, some are Velcro closed. And once I figured this out, which took me almost 45 minutes, I was able to make my purchase and be done with my chore, and of course I felt pretty good at that point. I was happy to be done. The problem is I realized that literally a second later, the next shopper was going to hit that search, and that shopper was going to have to start again at square one. And I realized that this was actually happening over and over again for every single product all over the world, every second of the day. And it bothered me in a very deep way because it struck me as kind of a criminal waste of human life. And I started to think, you know, if I could save 1 million people 1 hour each, that's actually like saving 2 lives, because the average human life is only 600,000 hours. So I thought, you know, I think I have found my life's work. Luckily, this turns out to also be a really high value problem, because the second person who has this problem, the second entity that we're solving for, is the retailer. So for the retailer, the problem is low e-commerce conversion rates. The average e-commerce conversion rate is less than 3%, and we see lots and lots of online retailers that are converting at around 1%. So this is an acute pain point because they're spending tons of time and money driving traffic to their site, and it's a leaky bucket. So going from just a 2% conversion rate to a 4% conversion rate for a retailer could mean doubling their revenues. And as a social scientist, I believe the underlying cause for the problem is something called cognitive overload, right? And there's a whole body of academic research that's coming out of places like Stanford and Duke, including the work of Nobel laureate Kahneman at Princeton. And it basically says that the cognitive system we use for decisions like shopping is really easily overwhelmed. And that's what leads to the paradox of choice, which is the phenomenon where the more options you have, the less likely you are to pick anything at all. And we've even been endorsed by the author of The Paradox of Choice, Dr. Barry Schwartz out of Swarthmore. So thanks to the unique combination of my background in cognition and Steve's background in e-commerce, we were able to synthesize years of university research into a working business tool that's already live and already helping customers and retailers today. And we call our approach interactive choice reduction. So it builds a bridge between our caveman brains and the modern world of e-commerce. So this is what it looks like in action. This is one of our earliest customers. They are a golf discounter named Golf HQ, and if you go to their men's shoe page, which is their top selling category, you're going to see over 100 different pairs of deeply discounted men's golf shoes, which you could certainly click through these 100 plus pairs, or you could take their shopping quiz. And if you do that, you'll be asked 3 simple questions: spiked or spikeless, athletic style or classic, colorful or neutral. And then just like that, you'll get a personal top 3 list of their most popular colorful, spikeless, athletic style golf shoes. And the best part is for the customer, there's no developer required. Our quizzes are currently embeddable on the retailer site as an iframe, and we've actually just launched our very first JavaScript version of our quizzes. And we work on every e-commerce platform, from Shopify to Magento to WordPress to whatever custom thing you're built on, because what we do is we point back to the retailer's existing product pages. We're live with several case study customers, and they've been seeing really terrific results with their quiz takers at least twice as likely to buy as their baseline conversion rate. And some customers have seen far greater lift, like this one who basically went from a 1% conversion rate to an 8% conversion rate among her quiz takers. The market size for e-commerce is over 100,000 sites of significant size, and an even larger number of content sites and will want our API. And our quizzes are also ideally suited for mobile commerce as well as social sharing. In terms of our business model, we're currently calibrating our pricing to the enterprise market. We've kind of been round and round on pricing. We've been getting really good advice from people like Terrence and JD, and we've had some really good recent conversations. So right now what we're considering is a combination of a flat engagement fee plus either a CPC or CPE additional source of follow-on revenue. So there would be like the initial engagement fee that's quoted at a fixed price plus cost per engagement with the content that would follow on. Our ultimate vision is that our brand of interactive content will become ubiquitous, and that people will expect every site to have a quiz in the way they currently expect every major site to have a search box, like site search. So our real goal is to solve the paradox of choice, which we believe is the first world problem of our time. So with that, I'm open for questions.
Josh, Rob, you want to jump in, because I have seen the pitch and I have given some of the feedback I think about it.
So I can go if that's okay. You spent way too much time in the beginning. I'm going to be a little harsh here. You spent way too much time in the beginning talking about yourself and not the problem you were trying to solve, so you kind of lost me and I started looking at other stuff. So tell me what problem you're solving first. I have no idea how you're going to make money. You didn't tell me about your monetization model at all. The technical questions are, how are you going to come up, if there's no retailer involvement at all, how are you going to come up with the questions to ask in the quiz? Are you going to have to employ tons of people to go look and see what the choices should be for every product that people are going to buy on the retailer? How do you automate that so you don't have to have an army of people creating quizzes for every site? I don't know how you're going to do customer acquisition other than through word of mouth. So business model was completely unclear. So it sounds like a good technical idea, but there was a little too much ego in your pitch and not enough business. So I didn't really get what the opportunity was for me, right? As an investor, I have no idea what the opportunity was.
Okay, so the quiz making process right now is based on a patent pending methodology that, right now humans are the people that are making the quizzes, but we have started to work on a strategy for building out, a supporting algorithm for the quiz makers. So that's, we're working on filing the non-provisional right now for the method. And the very next patent that we'll be applying for will be figuring out a natural language processing machine learning approach to assist in the process of analyzing a retailer's product pages. In terms of the business model, like I said, it's going to be a combination of an engagement fee for the enterprise, as well as basically it's going to be price per click is what we're thinking right now for people who choose to interact with the quizzes on the retailer site. So I hope that answers your primary questions.
It's part of it, but that's got to be part. That can't be a question that needs to be answered. That has to be answered in your pitch, right? So if you're going to pitch to investors, you've got to put that in there, and you've got to put it close to the front so that people know how you're going to make money, right? Otherwise, I have no idea. If you're going to ask me for money, I have no idea how I'm going to get it back.
Okay.
Right. Good point, Rob. Josh, do you have any questions?
So the one thing with Rob, I would really have liked to seen some automation around it. Kind of the manual process is kind of scary. Especially with the long sales cycle on the enterprise side. If you can't have some automation once you get through that sales cycle, you can't spend a lot of time customer and the next customer because you just sold, creating those quizzes. Where my biggest concern would be the cost per click. It's
I'm sorry, Josh.
ability,
your audio keeps cutting
customer and their
out.
competitor sees it and likes it.
Josh.
Yeah.
I can't hear half of what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No.
Your audio is coming and going.
Okay, I'll put the question here in the text.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Part of the questions that I did to Jenny, one was the one that Rob said. It's like, how can you automate this? Because if it depends completely on what you know, that's very hard to scale. Very hard to scale. If you have to choose every quiz for every product for every retailer, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. And then the monetization strategy. I told Jenny that she needs to find some kind of way of charging by the real value, so for the real sale that you actually deliver, and not just people that are clicking but not buying, because is some kind of like clickbait for sales. So you need to actually convert and show the conversion rate and have a way to engage, to get that engagement and charge for that engagement and that sale.
Yeah, so we've been talking to one of our existing customers, and we also spoke with someone who negotiated a kind of conversion tool deal for some large retailers who's now with a major digital agency here in Los Angeles. And so we've got some good insider perspective that's starting to come in on what is considered a normal pricing approach. And the price per click, the cost per click and cost per engagement model seems to be most acceptable to them. Versus the cost per action on purchase on the back end. And in terms of the quiz making process, what we have right now is we've automated the back end of the process in terms of once a human being has determined the the questions that are relevant to a product category. We have the obviously sort of like the website creation part, the quiz creation part already automated. And what we're going to be working on is the front end of assisting the human in generating the relevant questions using some natural language processing automation on the front end. So there will probably still be some human touch in the middle, but the back end's already automated, and we're working on automating the front end.
Great. What about the question that Josh had just asked on the channel about how do you protect the quiz model from competition?
Right. So there are all kinds of quizzes that are already out there. I mean, BuzzFeed quizzes, style profile quizzes, things like that. But our approach, the methodology for making this particular type of quiz, which is a high converting, it's the whole point of this methodology is to create high conversion for the customer. For that, we have a provisional patent. So hopefully we'll be awarded a measure of protection for that set of IP. And then the other part that we're working on is then operationalizing even more of the methodology into that front end algorithm for which we'll also apply for protection. In addition to obviously, defining this market, shopping quizzes currently doesn't have competition in terms of this particular type of interactive content, certainly not as a platform. And so, what we need to do is acquire as many enterprise level customers as we can in the next, year, and our brand will actually become synonymous with the product itself, sort of like Kleenex or Jacuzzi.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Let's move it offline. Jason, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Are you showing slides or I can't see you. I can just hear you.
All right. It's looks like my camera's on, but let's see. Let me get this going. And nobody can see me right now. That's too bad.
Were you going to put slides or?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick some slides up in a second here. There we go. You guys can see me now?
I can see you, but not the slides.
Right. That's why I'm share screen. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yeah. Go for it.
Perfect, great. Thanks for taking a few minutes, guys. So here to tell you about Volum. Really simple way to track, share, and discuss projects together. So a little bit about the team. I'm the co-founder CEO. My background, I was at McKinsey & Company for about 6 years. About 7 years ago, left that to come to San Francisco, start doing a number of different startups. So I've been through a few. Last startup that I was working with was acquired about $90 million a couple years ago, and we did the company integration. From there, I started Volum alongside my co-founder Bridger Smith. Bridger is a lifelong builder. He's also heavily focused in design, so he's kind of leading the design side of the platform. And then Brandon Gonzalez is our lead developer and has been working on a number of different startups over the last few years. Right now, he is driving our iOS development, and I'll go more into that as to like what we're building. And we have a couple other guys that are helping us part-time on the engineering and design side. So generally the problem is just tracking and sharing projects is very inefficient and difficult. Today most people are still using a combination of email and file sharing systems, so large emails, difficult to follow. A lot of people added to those chains and they tend to get very lost. It's tough to keep team members informed at a glance. Everything's very text-based, and sometimes just sharing the images does become a bit of a problem. Collecting and organizing ideas across dispersed teams becomes a challenge. And then finally, it's hard to share the process and the successes of those projects in real time with a broader team. So Volum is really a visual and efficient, organized way to capture, discuss, and share the projects openly or within a private group. We really started focusing this around the built environment, so architects, designers, builders, contractors, people that are doing projects in remote locations with very large dispersed teams that take place over a long period of time. So people's involvement kind of ebbs and flows throughout those processes. So we're building this platform right now. We've built the beta version of the web platform. We're building out the beta version of the mobile platform based on immediate feedback from users who are in the field wanting to be able to take the pictures and upload directly versus having to take pictures and either go to the web version on the phone or take it back to their computers in their office. So we really want to cut down that time and lost efficiency. The audience that we're initially have initially been working with are professionals, companies, communities, and researchers and students, all who are doing very visual type projects, whether they're collecting ideas from around the web, doing sketches right on a piece of paper and adding that directly to a project, or actually doing a build out of a custom home, a restaurant, or a public space. And so being able to see that progression of the project come to life is kind of our goal. And we have these, like I said, two sides. The public side, which allows people to showcase the work they're doing either to the community or just with the team that they're working with. And then the private side, where you can work just with your collaborators. So these are all people who are engaging on real projects, sharing real progress and real journeys. So everything from the sketches to the actual design to the actual build out, you can see that. We even have a number of customers who have found it significantly easier to keep their teams, investors, and other stakeholders up to date and involved in one place without having to send out loads and loads of emails on a regular basis. So when we think about the opportunity, we think of two sides. One, we think of the social collaboration software market, which is continuing to grow. It's expected to be just over $8 billion by 2019. And at this point, doesn't really show signs of stopping. So just being able to make it more efficient for people to engage and interact as teams is really changing the way that companies are even organizing their staff. So more dispersed teams versus having to have everybody in the office at all times. And then on the design and construction side, just in the U.S. alone, it's over $1.2 trillion in spend. When we look at just the residential and interior design, it's still over $600 billion. Now this goes into materials, labor, parts, hiring, communication software. So there's a big amount. There's a large amount of items that are included here. One thing that we think we can do with Volum is that we have a lot of public data. We have a lot of interesting tags and descriptions on every single image or project that people are working on. So over time, we can actually even do very targeted marketing, knowing people are working on a home build-out, knowing that they're about to put in the flooring, knowing they're about to decorate the house. What are the products we could actually put in front of them? This becomes very rich data. So to date, like I said, we launched a beta version of our web. So we've done no marketing so far. All the growth has been completely organic through either collaboration invites or social sharing. And then in terms of projects, those have been continuing to increase as well. What we found really interesting was about 50% of all the projects have been made public. We initially thought it was going to be a much smaller number, but we're finding that people are actually very open and willing to share the journey of their projects. They're very nostalgic about it. So how we grow, today it's been very strong SEO and word of mouth. Like I said, we haven't been around very long, and when you Google someone's name, we're already showing up in some cases above LinkedIn and Facebook. And for for long tail searches, we also actually show up at the top of the screen. And then we also have an inherently viral product. So as a user, the best way to use Volum is to start a project and add people to collaborate. As those teams start working together, and they go through one full project cycle, they start their own projects and add more collaborators. And that's how we're seeing, that's how we think the strongest way to grow the product so far to date has been. We obviously plan to do more marketing as we grow. So for the revenue model, we're going to start very simply with premium features. Today the platform is completely free to use for public projects. In talking with different companies and professionals, they've already defined a number of features they would love to have that would make it even easier. Including shared libraries, the ability to create organizations and have administrative controls within those organizations, offline access to the mobile app. So those are all things that we need to continue to build out. And then in the future, we could also create a platform to allow certain businesses to either sell products. So if you are an industrial designer, you might be able to actually sell the furniture or components that you're making, and then as well as advertising, whether that become display advertising, which we would actually probably shy away from initially, and move more toward sponsored, featured projects for specific companies. So we have creative ways and creative ideas on what we could do with an advertising model. So from a fundraising standpoint, we're doing a seed round. We'd like to get up to $1 million to really build out the team, really focus on getting a number of back-end developers as well as an Android developer. We're going to use a portion of that to test out different marketing and PR campaigns, as well as a small portion for just basic overhead. So that's it for our presentation. And then just to give you a quick demo, so like I said, we already have the platform up and running. So here's just an example of one of our users. You can see the detail around his profile and jump into some of his projects. You can actually go into this one where he was building a Dr. Seuss Playhouse. And one of the driving factors as we were building this was not just so people can show and share the progress of their projects, not only to the community but with their team, but as a business professional, I've opened a number of different offices. I also have an apartment that I manage. And one of the things that I found is that we keep making the same mistakes. I have colleagues who are opening new offices and just tell me about the problems and issues that they've gone through. And if I only could have shown them what I was doing as I was doing it, it would have made things a lot easier for me or for them. And it would have helped me if I had the same resource. So one thing I'm doing is I'm actually learning from other people as I watch their projects come to life. So this is Citadel Bay Area. This is actually a developing group that is now doing, they now have 11 projects on the platform. So they're actually going through the entire build-out of their units. And as they do this, they add their team as collaborators. You can see they've added 8 different people collaborating on that project. They've got 13 people watching it. And so as this comes to life, step by step, they're sharing the journey of the project as well as keeping their entire team informed of the status. So in this case, a picture really does tell 1,000 words, and you can see how those come together. And finally, all of our content becomes, you can be filtered by tags, by files, by images.
Jason, let's wrap it up so we can make some of the questions and feedback.
Great. Let's jump into questions.
Jason, it's Terrence. Great job. Can I ask, what are some of the things you learned from the people who use your product the most?
So the things we're learning from the people that are using it the most are they want to use it more. They're in general kind of limited by not having the iPhone application because they're working in they've got dispersed teams and they're working in remote locations. They're not in front of their computer all the time. So they really want to get it in their hands, have it mobile, be able to get those updates from anywhere. They tend to be working on a lot of different projects at once. So a single person may be working with as many as 20 or 30 people across multiple projects.
Okay, and can you talk a little more about who is they? Are these designers? They're architects? Yeah. What's a typical?
So great question. So we initially started with architects, builders, and designers, and as we rolled that out. One thing we learned about architects in particular is that architects don't like to share. So architects would start projects, they'd really only do them privately, but the benefit we had there was they would include industrial designers, contractors, and those were the people that were much more willing to share the projects they were working on. So it tends to be more on the development side where we see more of the social sharing side of it. Okay. But for us, that's fun, right? We just want to create utility, whether it's public or private.
And last question, can you talk about how are these industrial designers and contractors sharing? I see kind of pictures, I see comments. Like, walk me through an example of how this is practical for them to use.
So, sorry. This is just as probably more practical than using email and Dropbox together. or email in some other file sharing system, in the sense that instead of having to upload a file to the file sharing system, then separately create an email, send it to those list of collaborators, and then have discussions only around that one email. The next week, I'm going to have to send you a separate email with separate contact, with separate files, all linked to a different location. So this kind of merges those two together, and makes it just a much more visual way of tracking information. Again, a lot of file sharing applications are not visual in nature, so it's a little harder to see the images. But this is not just image-based, right? We take all file types. So we see lots of PDFs, we see lots of DWG files that come through. The one thing that we were not expecting to grow as fast as it has been is the student side. So a couple of university professors started following or started working with an architect or designer on our platform. They then started sharing that with their classes, and now we have hundreds of students who are starting to use Bloom just to even track their semester projects as they come along. So it's becoming a place even to source and scout talent.
Jason,
Awesome, thank you.
let's talk a little bit about how much engagement do you have by the users that you have right now. How many users do you have, and how many projects do you open? And
so on that previous slide, we have a little over 2,000 users on the platform right now. I think we had said we have about one, I'm trying to just go back. Are you asking for some of the questions that you had put in the in that document before?
So to give a reference to everyone, I know Jason from before. I've been helping with the metrics, and it's part of the things I think that is more compelling is the engagement that he has with his users, but at the same time the small user base and grows slowly. Maybe let's get a different point of view. Rob, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't describe the competition at all, and there's tons of competition for you out there, right? So, yeah, so why you, right? And how are you going to stay ahead of all your competitors? And first mover advantage doesn't work anymore. So, so tell me about what's special about you, why you, and why people would come and stay with you versus any of the other potential platforms they could use.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference we have is the fact that there is a community aspect that does get created here. I'd say that the comparison I like to use the most is GitHub for the rest of us. So we really want to create the utility for people to use, and the impetus to keep coming back is because you're actually contributing more back to the community. If I'm using other platforms, and by the way, I'm on more collaboration platforms than I would like to be on, just because of the different teams I'm working with. When you leave one of those other collaboration platforms, you're gone. You leave them for good because your data is completely set behind a firewall. None of it's public. You don't build a community. The only value you get out of a normal collaboration tool is the value that you put in, and you don't get any value from the community. In this case, as I start watching projects you're working on, I may learn something and I'm able to capture it, just like you would in Pinterest. I can capture those ideas over to my projects. So this is really more of a collaborative way to engage on projects all around you, as well as pull ideas and information from projects that other people are working on. So we kind of balance the two sides.
But there's nothing preventing somebody else from doing what you're doing.
There's nothing preventing anybody else from doing what we're doing. There are companies that are already doing what we're doing very much on the private side, not so much on the public side. And in terms of what we're doing, we're trying to curate the community a little bit more toward the actual build out of physical and visual projects. So by doing that, we may be able to actually have a niche market that we go after. So if we can really focus around the building, design, and architecture community, then that's where we will really you know, push some potential partnerships.
Who's closest to you in that space, in the design and contractor architecture community?
So closest to us is on the pure open discovery side is house.com.
Okay. And who are you worried about the most? Who's out there? Are you worried about Asana or Trello or somebody Slack moving?
Yeah, no, I'm not really worried about Asana or Trello. They're very much task-based collaboration platforms. Very, just setting up task lists.
Yeah.
There's Basecamp. I'm not so worried about Basecamp because they themselves are purely private. We also have a number of users who've been using Basecamp, and they're really wanting us to move faster because they want to switch over. They don't like it. One thing that we've learned from a lot of these clients is they have huge libraries of content, and they want to start having these shared libraries that they can use internally. So Basecamp is not a platform that would ever have that type of shared library. Even Dropbox, that they tend to use a lot, has difficulties in the way that they are organizing the content. So with us, because things are organized by tag, you could have a very, very large library that could be very quickly sorted and organized and filtered based on what you're looking for.
Okay, Jason, thank you. I think we have Kurt, who's going to jump into pitch. Kurt, are you there? Kurt?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jason, thank you so much, and I will send you an invitation for the Slack group to keep it on to get the feedback on there from the people on the panel. Okay.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks. Kurt, you're on.
Okay, cool. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. I wanted to show you guys a new project I'm working on and get some feedback. It's called Top Chart. So just sharing my screen here. So here is Top Chart, and what it is basically a list of features. It's a way of crowdsourcing features for your project. So that could be a startup or anything from some shoes or whatever you want to put out into the community. I'm focusing on startups for now, but I'll take you through sort of the sign-up process. So the idea is you sign up and maybe you have a startup. Let's say you have a startup that is some kind of social app. So can you guys see my screen okay?
You can see the sign up. Now it's
okay. I just want to make sure that you guys can see this okay.
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm going to create my project here. The idea is I create my project here. It's sort of like your own private product hunt page for your app or project, and I can take this link and then send it out to everybody. For example, I'll send it into the group chat. So the idea is that when people get this link, maybe you can send this out on Twitter or any other, just maybe your teammates that are working on the project with you, or whoever your users are, and then they can come to your page and say, add video chat to your app. And once somebody has added this feature here, other people can come and upvote the feature if they like it, or even start conversations here, about this feature. So if I don't like this feature, I can say this feature sucks, or I think it's a good idea. And to me, what the real magic and what I'm hoping happens here with this app is that if I'm a startup founder or somebody just running any kind of project, this makes things really easy for me. I can come here to this page and see that people have upvoted certain features, and now I kind of know what I should do. Or, it's most likely that if somebody upvoted a feature, that it's probably a good one, so I should probably just do it. And the way this idea came to me was I was using Asana, and I really love Asana. And I saw that Asana was crowdsourcing their features on their blog, and I thought that that's really smart because you have hundreds of users coming in and requesting the things that they want, and it's really easy for Asana to gauge what the popularity of certain things would be. And I've released dozens of apps with different startups, and every time we release, it's always the same thing. People are using all of these different channels to field the users' responses. Like I use text message, Facebook chat, email, I call people on the phone, I do Google Hangouts and videos, but I feel like it's too much work for somebody, and I feel like this really simplifies that. You can bring all of that feedback into one place and track it, and it's public, and you can share it with your team to really solve all of that problem. There's a lot of friction there. It's one of the hardest things that I do when I release a new app, or when a company I work for releases a new app. You have to find all of these different channels to bring in user feature requests, and you also have to people keep them in Word documents in all of these strange places, and it just really doesn't make sense to me. So I feel like something like this is very simple, and will bring people into one spot where they can solve all these problems. So there are a couple of examples. Here's my own top chart, for example, and here's how you can see sort of the power. Even though there's not a ton of people using it already, it's very powerful. I can see that 3 people wanted this discussions feature to be added to these lists, and so I've added it, and I can go in and communicate with people about it. How much time do I have left?
1 minute, Kurt.
Okay. So what else can I say about this? It's really the idea is simplicity, and for me, the reason why I love this idea is because there are so many startups that are being started, and I even read that there's something like 500,000 new businesses started every month, which is kind of unbelievable to me. But I've always really wanted to be building something that serves that market, because maybe we're in a crazy bubble, I don't really know, but I feel like serving all of these new startups is a really good place for me to be, because I understand startups and I know about the process of releasing products so much. That's all I've done for the last decade, that I've always wanted something like this, and I finally built it. And I just released it about 2 days ago, 3 days ago or so, and I feel like already it's been a use to me just working on this project. So the plan is to get, I don't know, maybe a few thousand startups using this within the next couple of weeks just to see how it can be useful to them.
Thanks, Kurt. Let's jump to feedback. Rob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I was on mute. So, you know, it's a good idea, and it's just basically part of the requirements gathering process for anybody who's doing Agile, and it actually gives you, you know, some of the things that you'll need for the sponsor customer. You know, especially if you have a very diverse set of or distributed set of customers, or a lot of small customers instead of a sponsor level customer. So I think it really fits very nicely into, you know, the form of Agile, but people misunderstand that quite a lot, actually. So yeah, it's a kind of amazing how badly people understand what Agile is. So you know, there's a lot of different ways you could go with this, and there's a whole lot of Agile tools out there, but I haven't seen anything like this before. So I do think it is a good idea. I think that for you, you have to validate that people are going to use it and figure out what your route to market is going to be. You can either go through a series of other tool sets, or try and partner with them for tool sets, or create a tool that people can use to insert into their current requirements gathering process. Yeah, I mean, it's real early, so you don't have anything like, you know, the customer validation. You don't have, you know, an idea of what the addressable market might be. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you got to do before you get to an actual investor pitch, but I do think you have a kernel of a pretty good idea.
Cool. Yeah. So as far as like the ideas of who to focus on, my idea is just to focus on very new or kind of beta startups. I want people that are really excited about their launch and are really like, I feel like that's a really key point for them to start getting feedback. And I think it would be relatively easy to grow, which I'm going to start doing probably in the next week or so, just focusing on building those pages for startups and pushing them out to them and finding users who are already interacting with their product to come in and leave, you know, feedback for them so they can see the power without even having to create accounts, and then from there they can just take over their pages on their own and moderate them themselves.
Kurt, I'm going to jump onto Rob's idea, and you should check Beta List and Startup List. I know the both guys that runs them. They get like thousands of startups every week. So it's Startup List and Beta List. You get thousands of startups.
Yeah, I know both of those.
Yeah. So I think that's a good audience to start because they're really on an early stage. I would say like as early probably as you. So they will find really useful at least to try it to see how it looks. I believe it's a great idea, but I think will evolve in something completely different that you haven't figured out. Because I think you're like it's like a mock-up. You're so early that you're giving a kind of like product kind of view, but I think it's going to turn out to be something else. And to give you an example, one of the startups that I work on that wanted to build a feature just asked their users if they wanted to pay for the feature, and they build on payment. So that they use a kind of thing that what you're using, but they had to use it on a chat conversation inside their own product. So there is a need for what you're having to know if you could build whatever it's going to build at features. I think you should try to get as many startups, and then think about helping each startup that gets in, not getting a lot of startups. Don't think about, oh, I want to get 1,000 startups. Think about, I'm going to get 10 startups, and then try to figure out their users. How do I get them to upload the features, comment, and create all the community that like kind of Product Hunt has around their own products, you know? Because if you go only into ad startups and the engagement is really low, the turnover will be really high. So people will stop using the tool if they don't find value in it.
For sure.
What you want to prove is the tool and create a community around it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I probably won't do that many startups, but I'll just try to do like maybe less than 100 so I can figure out which ones seem suitable to use it and really focus on making sure that they get the right feedback. Because I think at the end of the day, if like there are useful requests and people see that they have their own page for their startup, I think that they'd be really into using it. Like if I think back to all the startups or the apps that I released before, if somebody went out of their way to create a page that was dedicated to my startup, that was all about getting useful feedback, man, it would have saved me so much time. I know that this is a huge problem and a huge, and it is the right way to tackle it, right?
Yeah, it is. But remember, you're putting yourself between the end user and the startup that you want to help. So you're putting yourself. So remember that you need to help to close that bridge. So it's not how many startups you get in, but how helpful you are to that startup to communicate with their users.
Yeah.
If they love
Someone
you on
just
the
ping me on.
time, yeah, they love it in the user in time, every founder of any startups talks to other founders. So if I use if I'm a founder and use your tool and it's really good to communicate with my users and build on needs on what they ask me to, or I'm going to tell other founders, hey, you should use this.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that to me is one of the most exciting things about it, really, is just that I can go and find, like, I'm just going to do what I do every day, go and find cool new startups and apps, but now I have a reason to talk to the founders, so it's kind of a fun project for me.
Exactly, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Yeah,
Rob.
thanks for listening.
Mike, Rick, Jason, Nathan for putting all this up, and, well, Terrence and Jenny and everyone that left. Well, I hope we see you next Thursday with the new startups. Have a great day.
Hey, Kurt, you still there?